It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of June 28th, 2002. Only two to look at today, two notable ones, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Adam Sandler as Mr. Deeds. Mr. Deeds is a remake of the Frank Capra movie Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, which in and of itself is based off of a short story called Opera Hat by Clarence Boodington Kelland. I don't know why I said it like that, but Adam Sandler plays a pizzeria owner who learns that he is the heir of a late multi-billionaire, and also he meets a television reporter wanting a story on him, which of course is going to lead to a romantic relationship, only to realize that she's actually part of a bigger plot against the network that she's working for. And it was one of those Adam Sandler movies that got kind of thrashed when it came out by critics. I mean, a lot of people really did not like it, but it was a big hit financially. It was actually a nice return of form for Adam Sandler after Little Nicky crashed and burned. And, a lot of people didn't like this movie. I honestly don't know why. It's actually a pretty fun little movie. I mean, it's not a great comedy per se, but it's still a legitimately funny film, and there's a lot of elements to it that I think are very funny. I like Adam Sandler in this role, playing more of a laid-down role than what he played in something like Little Nicky. I mean, this is a huge improvement over something like Little Nicky, which is actually, I think, directed by the same guy who made Little Nicky, Stephen Brill. Yeah, this was his follow-up film to that. And, like I said, it's a nice return to form for both of them. I mean, after what happened with that film. But the movie is funny. Like, there are moments in there where the jokes do work very well. There's a great cast for Sandler to work around with. You do buy the chemistry between him and Winona Ryder in this movie. Peter Gallagher, Jared Harris, Alan Covert, John Turturro, very good in the film. Conchita Ferrero from L.A. Law and 2.5 Men is also very good in the film. There's a lot to like about the movie. It's a nice comfort food film. Like, there are still very funny moments in this movie that I still do remember, like the scene where John McEnroe jumps over the truck. I think it was a truck. It was either a truck or a car, and he's like yelling at the car, like, because that's what John McEnroe does. It's like, what kind of car was that? You're an effing disgrace. And the news report, it's a news report, and the news reporter comes back and goes, no, sir, you're a disgrace. Like I said, sometimes the best actor's reading of a line can make lines like that funny. That's a really funny line. There's also another one where there's a couple of them. Like, I like the idea that one of his feet is like completely like black, and he can barely like feel it. Like John Turturro's his waiter in the movie, butler is what I'm trying to say, and like he stabs his foot with a fork, like with a fire fork, because Sandler tells him that he can't feel any pain, and like he's doing it, and then he goes like, you're sick. Why would you do that to me? And I'm just kidding. Like he pretends like he's hurt at first. And it's just like, no, I'm just kidding. Why would you? But like there's good funny lines in there. Like there's a part in the movie where Adam Sandler's getting like bullied by this guy, and like it's a running gag that comes back later on in the movie where the bully's dad actually calls him up. And, he's talking to him, and then, like, he says, I can't remember what he said. He said something that offended the father, and he just, like, takes his belt out, and the bully's just like, no. Like, the camera angle, and again, acting the actor's performance in that, just perfect. Like, really, like, that's really funny stuff. There is a lot of funny stuff in this movie. I know a lot of Adam Sandler's movies got a bad rap early on, but most of the early Adam Sandler movies were not terrible. I mean, there was that streak in the 2010s where, yeah, those movies were not that great, and you can definitely see that the novelty was wearing off quickly, but this was still back when those movies were still legitimately funny. There were still a lot of good things about the film. Is it a great comedy? No. There's still a lot of elements to it that are kind of very formulaic and kind of predictable, but the overall film is still overly enjoyable. I still do like this movie a lot, and it's one that I've honestly wanted to go back and watch for a while now. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, but if you watch on TV, you can probably see it on there any time. I've seen it I've seen it on a couple listings for Freeform and FX over the last couple of months, so it is good to know that it is still getting playtime on TV, even though it's been over 20 years, and it's a film that's been kind of relatively forgotten since it's coming out, but that just shows you the power of Adam Sandler. I mean, this is still a good film overall. I laughed a lot. I thought it was very funny, but not a classic by any means, but still a really enjoyable movie. I do recommend it for what it is. If you like a good Adam Sandler movie, you'll definitely find a lot to admire about this film. So, That's Mr. Deeds. Now let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, and that is Hey Arnold, the movie. So this is another one of those movies where, they had success with the Rugrats and Pokemon, and everybody wanted to create a big screen adaptation of an animated show, even if it didn't make a whole lot of sense. That's why we got Doug's first movie, which actually, this and Hey Arnold are very similar in terms of how they got to the big screen, but the Pokemon sequels, Digimon the movie, Recess School's Out, so on and so forth. When it comes to big screen versions of animated TV shows, you can get some really good ones, like the SpongeBob movies that we've had, like the trilogy of films, the Chipmunk Adventures, South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Transformers, Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, just to name a few. And then you have those ones where zero effort was really put into it, and it was clear that this was intended to be a TV movie blown up for the big screen, and because of another property's transition to the big screen. This is definitely the latter of those two. It's one of those movies that is very much a film that was quite literally intended to be a TV movie, and we'll delve into that as we move along here. But in this movie, you have Arnold, Gerald, and Helga on a quest. Why did I say it like that? Helga. It's like Arnold, Gerald, and Helga on a quest to save the neighborhood from a greedy developer played by Paul Sorvino, who plans on converting it into a huge shopping mall. So like I said, this was a movie that was literally blown up for the big screen. This was actually a TV movie that was, when Nickelodeon renewed the show in '98, they actually gave Craig Bartlett, the series creator, a chance to do 2 feature film adaptations. And so in 2001, this was supposed to be the first of those two. Arnold Saves the Neighborhood was the original title of it. And it was originally supposed to go to TV and home video, but then became a movie for theatrical release when Paramount decided to release it theatrically after successful test screenings. And it was also helped by the fact that the Rugrats movies did so well. And they were also going to do the sequel being the Jungle movie, which, eventually became that in 2017, which honestly is still is the far superior movie comparing the two. But back then it was canceled when the film failed to make money. Bartlett actually walked off during the project, and so on and so forth. And it explains why the movie has some choppy animation, because you're putting this on a big screen. The animation in this does really not look like it was intended for a theatrical release. Compare this to the Wild Thornberrys movie, which that movie clearly was intended to be a theatrical released film. It clearly has the animation that's more theatrical than this movie does. This is more like a line of a straight-to-TV movie, like they did with the Cat Dog movie, the Great Parent Mystery, and it looks slightly higher quality than the series, but even then, it's still not warranted enough for a big theatrical release. And even though they try to throw in some CG shots to try to make you think that this is intended to be a theatrical release, but really, it does not. The story does not make a whole lot of sense either. We get it. Arnold's neighborhood is going to be torn down by this greedy developer, but when they reveal the reason why this developer is tearing it down and what the focus of the film then becomes, it really is one of the dumbest things ever. The reason why the developer is so hell-bent on tearing down this neighborhood is because of the Tomato Incident, a major Revolutionary War battle fought in the city. And Arnold realizes that the neighborhood has to have been declared a historical district after the war, effectively ensuring its preservation. But the legal document granted by its landmark status had been sold to a collector, and it's the bad guy himself, who also turns out to be an ancestor of the governor of the British forces, and was humiliated because of it. And this raises so many questions about how ridiculously stupid this plot is that I really do not have the time to go into it, everything that is wrong with this film, but it makes no sense whatsoever how nobody in the mayor's office had any information in their history books, and it took all these people working for the obvious bad guy to delete all forms of information regarding it. And I think you know exactly where I'm going with this, so let's move along from there. But, they also add characters in here that serve no purpose to the story whatsoever, with a star involved. That's the only reason why they're there. You got Christopher Lloyd, who shows up as a coroner, and it's a cool-looking design. It's Christopher Lloyd doing Christopher Lloyd. What more can you ask for him? He shows up in one scene where he gives out information to Arnold and Jared about where the document is, never shows up again. And then you have Jennifer Jason Leigh playing a secret agent who just helps Gerald and Arnold out with weapons and suits, and never returns again to the very end of the movie. No real character development, no real purpose to be there, except that they're big-name stars. Okay, maybe Jennifer Jason Leigh. Not so much him. In fact, Paul Sorvino wasn't even that big of a name around this time either. Honestly, of the three, Christopher Lloyd probably was the biggest name of those three. But The movie does not feel like Hey Arnold whatsoever. It feels like they took a lot of the heart and the TV show's soul, and it definitely feels more. The TV show was definitely more like a '90s TV's Peanut. Like I remember Steven Spielberg used to call Rugrats the modern day version of Peanuts back in the '90s, but honestly, I think Hey Arnold definitely is more of that. I mean, there's a more colorful cast of characters, more realistic stories that weren't afraid to play it safe, memorable music cues, simplistic animation, and a great main character who's not usually treated as fair as she should be by his friends. Like, there are a lot of similarities to the Peanuts and Hey Arnold than there are with Peanuts and Rugrats, but this movie does not feel like that at all. And like the big thing that they were promoting about this movie was that, you know, Helga's going to reveal her feelings to Arnold, and when that finally happens, it feels forced. Like, it just feels like it comes out of nowhere, and it's completely a non-factor when the movie is over. It's just like everything goes back to normal. It's just like, yeah, I was just fucking with you, man. But that's why I like the Jungle movie more, because not only did that do that story much better, but when they reveal that Arnold and Helga had feelings for Arnold, it was more legitimate in there. It made sense, and the reveal was more natural. It felt more refined than what they were trying to do in this movie. It's like they took all the wit and charm and heart out of the show and just made a quick cash grab. It's a lackluster animated film, a script that's all over the place, a lot of pointless characters that have no reason to be there, of heavily flawed villains' motivation. It just does not feel like what a Hey Arnold movie should feel like. The Jungle movie is what a Hey Arnold movie should feel like, especially considering the story they had been building all the way back to the beginning of the show, with the story about how Arnold's parents were adventurers, and they set the whole thing up, and they were setting that sequel up with the last episode of the show, and it didn't happen for a good 15 years. But when it finally did, it was more than worth it to get to that point, because that's still a great movie, the second one, the Jungle movie, which I highly recommend checking out if you have yet to see it yet. This just feels like a wasted opportunity to bring the series to the big screen the right way. It just feels soulless. It feels empty. That's the best way to describe this movie. Empty. Void of anything that made the original series great. Feels like a bad cash grab, and just you'd better off just skipping that one. Go watch the Jungle movie. It's a far better film. And so with that said, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. The next time we meet will be in the middle of 2002, 4th of July weekend, with 3 notable movies, including Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith in the sequel Men in Black 2. We also have Little Bow Wow in Like Mike, and we also have another animated series blown up for the big screen in the Powerpuff Girls movie, with better results. I'll delve more into that on tomorrow's show. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.